ask me a question.
How are your builders, when you're indicating the half timber, are you using like a 2x rough sawn and slashing the caps of those tops?
Rough sawn, 1x rough sawn cedar.
Just applied to the surface?
Yeah.
You're not getting water behind that's...
Well, what you would typically do is you put like a 7/16 OSB behind it that's slightly narrower, so you get a place to tuck the wire for the stucco.
Okay.
And then it's flashed above and below as needed. Yeah. That's the way we've been doing it locally. But we don't do very much of that half timber anymore. That's kind of, you know, we quit doing that. But, you know, I was at the builder show and took a all-day seminar on lean design. The architect that was part of that presentation, who does a lot of production stuff, was saying that the English cottage look is the new style that's coming in for production housing. You know, because it's a steeper front gable and everything else is flat and slow slope. So it's interesting to have that. Something I really like is actually coming in. So. Before we get started again, I thought I'd share some information I got this week on the Columbus market in general, but I think it applies to most of the state. Single-family permits in Columbus were up 21% last year. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I'm sure the states. Columbus is like 4th in the country in terms of growth right now. So Columbus is a really good market, but single-family new home sales were up 23%. Permits were up 21%, and the average new home price is up almost 1%. Closed sales were 12% up. Average sale price is up 7%. So that's kind of good news for our market and for everybody. But I thought I'd share that because I figured everybody would be interested. So that's all the central Ohio counties. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 central Ohio counties. Some are rural and some are more highly populated. Okay, window details. And again, I wish Andy was here to talk about on the left a little bit. But, this is Moore Craig, which is CFA Boise. And over the windows, you have these little hoods that are almost like a piece of metal. And I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what they are. Does anybody know what they are? But it gives you a vertical line, a little protection for the top of the window. And then around the window, you have these staggered stone pieces that are flush with the stucco. And this is almost like an accent piece. It runs clear across the house. In this case, it's just over the window. But in this case, it'll run clear across the gable end. It's an interesting little detail. We would achieve that today probably with a trim board, you know, a flat trim board with a cap or something like that. But it's an interesting detail. And then the staggered stone, cut stone edges around the windows themselves. Here we've got a little detail where we've got a head detail over a wood window and a wood siding, and a sill detail that's similar. And then this is a window from our walking towards Shands Park on a wood frame house. It's just really nicely done. Pretty flat window. It didn't come out very much. Got a really steep pitch roof on it to give it the right proportion for a house and a wall. But that thing only looks like it's coming out about 8 inches. Door and entry details. Of course, one of the upper left's a pretty classic Craftsman detail. You've got a single door, and then you've got 1 or 2 side lights that are partial height that are actually windows. Now this one has some transom glass in on the other side. And you get the diamond grill in the door. But kind of a nice detail. And of course, the columns there, big porch press beam across. Board and batten, and then you've got up in the gable there some little accent strips that are trim boards painted white. With a board and batten in between, or in that case, it almost looks like it's a T&G, a tongue groove or a T111 board out there.
Are those proportions to that tapered column wrong?
No, because if you look at that from the ground, it's probably a 3/5, 2/5 number. I cut that off, so I took all the advertising off.
Gotcha.
I pull these stuff out of magazines and put them in design files so I have ideas. When I want to do Craftsman, I've got a file to go to and pick ideas from, steal ideas from. I'm sure you guys don't do that. It's all from memory, right?
Absolutely.
Paul has an incredible memory. Oh, yeah, my stuff, yeah. Right. Stealing from you, so that's a vicious circle. The Arts and Crafts House on the right. You know, that little detail with those little balls in there, I'm not sure how you do that structurally. It's got to be a threaded rod through that to structurally support it, but they're a really neat detail with a bracket, and then you get this little point that supports that. So, but again, arts and crafts or even storybook, that's the kind of detail you'd expect to see on something like that. The brackets are pretty simple. They're just cut out of 2x material, but they're spaced and have an area look to them. Instead of being solid timber, it gives the essence of that, but in a little more playful way. And again, regular side lights there are wood door. But the barge, the rake board is decorative. And again, you get kind of a playful feel, and the ceiling's arched. So you can see you can have a lot of fun with that and create sort of a really interesting and unique house.
Jim, would you call the one on the right storybook?
I would, yeah.
I was gonna say, I don't see too many slides that I would actually refer to with the overused word whimsical, but I think that one's it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you know, you look at that, and the expensive part of that is the curved roof,
Yeah,
the curved ceiling in there. The rest of it's not that big a deal to do.
yeah, good point.
You just have to be able to detail it so somebody can do it. On the right, you've got stock and stones, entry detail, beautiful Indiana cut limestone. And of course, when you do that stuff, you've got to detail that stone so the guys know how to make it. So you get a bed mold around the outside of a flat piece to get that molding detail. Just a real nice classic English detail there with a round top door. And of course, the lantern, the hanging lantern over the door, is the perfect complement to that, as opposed to our standard mounted lantern to the side. You wouldn't typically have that. It would be a lantern on a bracket with a chain, probably lit originally 300, 400, 500 years ago with a candle and or whatever they used in their oil or whatever, and lit every evening. So, on the left is Andy's house. Really nice entry door. But, you know, probably not a real expensive door. That's not custom by any means. And then you've got a fixed window next to it. It's got the upper transom piece is just a grilling window. And it's interesting that it sets down slightly and the trim sets down. I think that's a nice touch. Columns are great. Again, from the ground up, that's probably 3/5, 2/5. And then the gutters, I don't know where he found those, but those are, it's like a series of little copper cups that the water drains through. So I don't know if that makes a sound. You know what? Does it make a sound when it's draining? Or?
It's more for a look.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But it's a neat little look. But you can see his columns got a nice crown detail around the top, porch breast, and the piers, the stone piers, are proud of the wall that's the front of the porch. And then you've got the drain right here. You know, that's the porch drain coming through there. And it happens several places that water on the porch can drain out. So Andy's really thought through these details when he did this. And it's, if you haven't had a chance to go through it, I'm sure he would love to show you the house. He did have it open. He's been in the house 4 or 5 years. I think he had it open about 4 years ago after a meeting, and there was only a few of us showed up afterwards. But the house is worth the tour. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's not a huge house, but it's a really nice space. And then he developed the space over the garage as his office. And he has a conference room and his own design drafting room in there. Unfortunately, he's not using it anymore. He took a job with someone else. More entry details. This one is that house that the students did that was the storybook style, and that's the entry point. Did you detail that star in the front and everything?
We actually did, yeah.
That's neat. And then you had that scalloped breakboards. So it's really nice detail. And then that base, you know, I suppose originally that whole wall would have come out like that.
Right.
But today with stucco stone, we're just going to do a wing wall sort of feature. And your landscape disappears anyway. So. But nice, really nice English lanterns on the front there with that big, what's that heart thing on the top? It's like a shepherd's staff top. There's a name for it, I can't think of what it's called. You know, where it comes up and curls around and the lantern hangs off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
What do you say? What's it called? Crook. Crook, okay, yeah. Center one is from the storybook, the book I have on storybook architecture. Again, really steep pitch roof, probably 22 something, bell-shaped eave at the end, flared walls, the proportion is very whimsical. You know, that upper window is probably not very functional. It's like the size of a dormer, and it may go into a room, it may not. You've got a little niche on the outside in lieu of a window, which, you know, breaks that up nicely. The lantern's over that little niche, which is a really unique place to put it, but it lights the entry up there. And then the entry is recessed in the slope back, cut stone. It's not dressed stone, but it's a cut stone of some sort, roughly cut stone. And on the right, you've got a really rustic look to that entry. The single brick pieces coming off in fans or starlight are called voisaires. And again, that's very common with the storybook stuff and that old medieval English stuff. You'll see some of that. And of course, with the stucco and work, it's kind of a neat rustic appearance. So it's kind of a different entry. And then you have wrought iron volutes out there, which are a little unique. Probably not appropriate, but it works. The one on the left is, again, some of that, we were talking about the stone right as we ended before, some of us, and that's more of a rubble stone look. Again, it's achieved with stucco stone. It's achieved by using a stucco stone that does not have a huge variance in color, and you smear it on and you kind of rub it out with some burlap so that, and you have to have, the mortar has to have a tint to it so it blends better with the stone. But you get more of a rubble stone look to what you achieve, as opposed to what's on the right, and that's a struck joint, and the mortar's a different color, and so the joints really stand out. So what you do with the stone pattern and how you achieve that really affects the overall look of the house. Now, how do you draw in CAD rubble stone in that look? I don't know how you do that. I don't think there's a pattern for it, but somehow you have to indicate how to achieve that. Soft plan, right?
No. A lot of
that look like it.
One CAD even has a hatch pattern that's stone.
Oh, I have stone patterns. I just don't have one that defines joint types too. You know, so.
I can do it by hand.
Yeah, hit your eraser and you hit every once in a while. Touch the pattern. I'll take care of this for you, John.
Thank you. On the right, you've got kind of a dovecote that's the entry. You know, it's probably just a two-story element in there, but you can see how it works. It's a neat little entry feature, and you know, around the top, you typically are not going to have a gutter on that. That would typically have been a crown mold that the shingles come out over, and it just drips. Not very elegant when you're standing at the front door to have water dripping on you, but today, I mean, the one we saw from the Homerama that had the round turret had copper gutter all the way around, which is about 5,000 pieces of copper, about that big, welded together or put together. So it's hard to do, but it's a nice look. So. And then, of course, the chimney's the integral part of that also. Garage door details. Well, we talked about the one on the top left already, what Mike had done with that. And of course, we dressed ours up down there with the arbor over it, just like they did. I probably stole that idea from them. So. In the middle on the top is a house from Shands Park again. And it's a garage set way back on the property, but they took the time to do the garage right too. Again, it's got that very slight slope to that barge board across there and timbering in the upper half, but it has a more medieval look to it, and it goes with the house. It looks really good with it. Top right is from the Indianapolis home Rama I went to. It's just kind of a line down the garage doors. There's a little entry there and the little column detail. And again, that might feel a little funky or be a little funky, but it's a battered pier. And again, about 3/5, 2/5 when you look at it. The upper might be a little short, but it works. You know, it works. And then down at the bottom is just another way to treat garage doors. You know, bring a little eyebrow out over it and create, let's see what they've done here. They've set it back and brought an eyebrow on down from that steep pitch and wrapped it around here with brackets. And it creates a little hood over the garage door. And it takes what's a very plain elevation and dresses it up. And you know, it's just an extension of the truss, or extension of the stick-built rafters coming down. So there's trim dollars associated with it, but it's a nice detail. And then that gable end has a door with a step-out balcony, which is pretty nice too. So, nice way to treat that. But you can see from looking at this, you don't have to put the 16-foot garage door in and do nothing with it. There's ways to pretty inexpensively dress up some of this stuff so it looks period and authentic. Porch and column details. So you get the one on the right again we talked about. You can see a little bit bigger there. And then the top again is from Shands Park. They're a walking tour. Flat stones, obviously been dressed to lay up there, but they've laid out, so they're not. I'm not quite sure how you batter that pier like that and still have those stick out. It must be a challenge to do. But, you know, very nice. Very nice. And that house has to be early 1900s, doesn't it, Mike? Yeah. And look how well it's held up. May have been repointed recently, but it really looks nice. And then bottom left is some gun stock details from a house, and I can't tell you where that picture came from. Just in my portfolio stuff. But, you know, structural beam across here, structural column, but they've applied a piece here, and they've applied 3 levels of 2x here with an OG edge on it. You step it back, it looks like a beam gun stock detail. It's not quite as wide as the beam above, so there's a little reveal. It's just, it adds structure to what's there. Pretty darn cost effective. That's something almost anybody can do to dress up a porch. I like the way the numbers up there, and it's set just off so you get a shadow on it. It's not right on the beam, it's set off the beam, half inch, 3/4 inch. Just some nice timber details there with exposed rafters. Some more porch details. This one is that AB siding I was talking about. You can see how we did one wide, one narrow. And it's just a matter of spec'ing on the plan. For those of you who don't know, hardy siding, hardy plank siding comes in a lot of different widths, from 4 inches to 10 inches, I think, 12. You don't do that, vinyl. You have to use the quality material. Spoken like a builder, right?
The American Vinyl Institute thanks you for your commentary.
I'm sure they do. Somebody may make that vinyl. I don't know. I don't use enough of it to be aware of what products are out there.
You can do that in vinyl.
You can?
Yeah, you just got to make sure that your color matches or what your product. Sometimes you can buy an 8-inch
About
vinyl,
4 inch.
and you can buy a double 4, So you can go 8, double 4, and do
Well, I
that.
guess you could. You could do like a couple courses of 8 and then a double 4 and a couple courses of 8.
Right.
You can do that in vinyl work. See?
Outside the box.
Take it, well, you use it on that, won't you? That's harassing. See what happens when you sit up front? Nice porch ceiling here. You know, it's got the piers out in the front. And I think this was a Homerama house, but I can't tell you which one. But nice door transom. You know, the door's got an arch in it, nice transom, square. But just took this ceiling that was very plain and put some beamwork in there and really carried the Craftsman detail through. And you look at these brackets out here, all hand cut, it looks like. They might be 5 pound, but they're done really nicely to carry that thing through. And then the one on the right and the one on the bottom are porch details we found in Shands Park. So again, that was a fabulous tour for me. I got a lot of stuff out there. Probably got 200 photos that took us.
If you want to go back again, just let me know.
Okay, yeah. So, you know, really nice little detail. This was on the right, where it says 315. That was a front porch that was probably 3 bays long, and off the end of it, which is where you stepped up to go in, was this little hood detail. And it's got, you know, again, nothing terribly sophisticated about it, but its simplicity is what makes it nice. It's got a nice gentle arch, and you got this OG or bedbowl detail on the bottom of it here, and then you got the spindles, and it just gives it a light. I don't want to say Victorian, but it's almost got a little bit of that Victorian detail to it with the spindles in it. But it really worked with the house. And then the simple side porch cover was very, very nice. Probably newer, but it really went for the house. Did a nice job. So.
Jim, what's that above the 2 double hungs in the bottom picture? Is that something functional or is that
Exhaust.
That's what's probably an exhaust fan in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's what it looks like, is a dryer vent or a
okay.
fan for exhaust or something. So, dormer details. Well, the one in the center is off an arts and crafts house. It's got this limestone surround. It steps in. It has a wonderful panel at the bottom, and then there's a hood over the front door beneath it that's copper, or it may be leaded copper. I'm not sure which. It looks really nice. But you got an arch top window. You've got an arch top over the window that goes into a hidden dormer on the roof. And you can see there's not a lot of profile there, but it really works. And then you've got snow stops across there too. Everybody see those? These little things on the roof to keep snow from sliding off. Because you've got no gutter. What's that?
That's a tough one to draw.
Yeah. Well, it's not tough to draw, it's just a couple lines on the elevation.
Well,
It's tough to structurally
tough to detail, yeah.
Yeah. But this is nice because there's no gutter up in here. They want to make sure that the snow doesn't fall off on the front entry, so you've got these little pieces on the roof to protect the snow. And of course, the slate roof, it looks like, or a really heavy shingle roof. On the right, we've got that house from Kansas, that Craftsman house from Kansas. You see these brackets up here. Really kind of a neat little detail to support that roof. So that's a lot of glass up there with those 5 windows. The 3 center ones are the same, but the ends, and something's happened there on the end, and that window's been replaced so you can get the grill right. Because the rest of them are all correct. Center one's a little wider, and then these are narrower, and that's just a little longer. And then bottom right is again a house from Shands Park, and it's that roof, that dormer just kind of grows out of the roof. And it's a very English detail, and it gives you a lot of space inside. When you're stick building a house, that's easy to do. You can't do that with a truss roof very easily. But it's a real nice organic sort of detail to be able to bring out of the roof. Of course, the slate, the weathered slate roof doesn't hurt the appearance either. And then over here, this is this historical house that I fell in love with in Shands Park. And this is the corner out here of the street. It was a corner house. And this was the hip that faced the corner. And there's these little dormers. I mean, there's a little pan dormer. And this little dormer on the corner, I have no idea how you structurally do that. It's got to be a lot of fun, but man, it's a neat little detail in that house. And it really kind of makes that elevation just stand out, because you don't structurally bridge it in place. So that must be a neat little room inside. And I don't know if there's a third room in the attic, but those aren't a whole floor apart, so I'm not sure what we're looking at. Could be a high ceiling in the second floor. But you can see, you got the slate here, nice multicolored slate roof, and as I recall, it needed some repair. And then you've got a leaded copper flashing below this window to get back out to the hip so it drains correctly. Nice pan up here, and then I like the clay tiles on the corners. That was a nice accent, probably original to the house. And then here's this corner window I was talking about. It's really, really English to see a strip of windows and see it turn a corner like that. Obviously heavier beam in the corner, but, and you can see these windows are not mauled, they're separate, and then every so often there's a big structural member, and then there's 4 or 5, there's 4 there, and then another structural piece. So it's kind of an interesting look. And it's those kinds of details that help give your house character, and help take it to the style you're trying to take it to. Get more dormer details. The one at the top is Shan's Park again. And this house it's a Craftsman house, but it's got a lot of different details on it. It's got some coin corners on what it appears to be a wood dormer. It's a very tall, thin windows with these little triangular windows on the side. A little painted accent there across the bottom. Then it's got this bay that comes out the side with a flat roof, and it's got the Craftsman armor top to it. And then over here you've got nice shape siding. So it was an interesting house. It was a blend of styles, but it worked pretty well. Here you've got an arts and crafts house. Craftsman style, I guess, or really more Craftsman style, but a nice window treatment there, window boxes and the build out below. And then the dormers above are pretty simple dormers, and those windows must have been located to just flash it correctly, because there's not enough space below. Today I'd get shot if I did that and put 6 inches beneath the window for the guy to flash it correctly. So, but apparently no problems. It's a newer home and it looks good. So, and then on the bottom left we've got a storybook house again. Once again you can see those ridges that pop up, and you can see the dormers and just they're panned. That's one of those details that I love to do, where the dormer's half out, half into the roof, because it keeps it from coming all the way out and being this big, heavy dormer. But every time I try to do it, the builder's gonna bring it out. I don't want to have to pan that window. So you get a dormer that comes all the way out and feels too big. But that's a great detail to see those half pans. And you can see the siding in here looks, I'm not sure if that's shake or that's hand split siding. It looks like a hand split. But a newer roof, obviously, on this older house because it has a current color. Very, very nice details. Pergola and arbor details. Top left, again, this is just a blow up of the details that the students have done on that house in City of Albany. You can see the windows, nice mountain bar pattern, and windows Craftsman mountain bar pattern. That arbor over the doors, you can see it doesn't come out very far, but what a nice detail it has in front of that house. And the detail over the porch, that's really sweet because there's not a lot to that. That's probably, and I'm guessing, a half truss for the roof itself for the porch. Flat ceiling, probably 3/8 rough sawn or smooth sawn plywood, but those probably 3x beams that are in there really give it a nice structural look. Painted with the purple, and it really stands out nicely. So not a lot of extra work to achieve a lot of detail. Are there dollars associated with it? Sure. But not exorbitant amount. That was probably the most modestly priced house in that whole city realm, wasn't it? Some details there on the bracket that came off of one of our houses. And then a nice pergola detail at the end of a walkout there. And then a nice house that's got a second floor deck over a screened porch. But they've kind of created a detail that goes all the way around that porch with the joist coming out and creating a roof over the door, if you will. The screen door's got those nice little details in the corner of it. But everything works so it stays just above the adjacent windows, just below the floor. You know, it takes a lot of effort to make that stuff work out like that. It takes a lot of thought as you're doing the design, the drawings. Okay, interior details. This is the inside Andy's house. Now, I'm telling you, this does not do this house justice. The house is just phenomenal. I think the whole interior of this house is done in Liptus wood.
In what?
Liptus, which is a quick drawing mahogany family material. It's from the eucalyptus tree, and Weyerhaeuser has the forests in South America to grow, and it's pretty affordable. They were trying to bring it into this market, and he did his house right when they were trying to bring it in, and I think he got a pretty good deal to do it. But, I mean, the staircase is phenomenal, and I don't know where he got that detail from the ball. He said the ball is attached. He said with 3 boys that could not be left unattached.
Yeah.
So it is attached.
Yeah, that came from his plaster scotch.
Just,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
just
smart.
larger detail. You know, hand-built dual posts, you know, little brackets underneath them, and you've got these little brackets here to hold the ball, and then you've got a version of that bracket right there, nice cap, flat panels. I mean, just the whole thing about it, just perfect. It's square newels, not too crazy, but then he's paneled the underside of that, which is just classic Craftsman detail. You look at his fireplace down here, he's got a dining room over here toward the back, but the fireplace just is the bottle green tile, just gorgeous. And he's got some tiles in the cabinets there. But the cabinets are, 5 foot tall. And then you see the mantel, and the mantel is just one step above that. So there's a hierarchy to everything that's in there. You can't just make that all the same line, it won't look right. So the mantel's up just a little bit. And then they've got the 3 panels here, and he's got candelabra, single candelabra on either one of those to line up. And the transom windows up here, which is, it's classic Craftsman stuff. It just looks incredibly good. And then all the way around the room, he's got a crown, which is simple, and then he's got a band at the top of the windows. And then again, classic Craftsman. But you better get all that stuff set at the right height. You got to specify all that, match the height. You can't put it's got to match the height of the door. So.
Do you know if that's a functional fireplace?
Yes, it is. It's a metal firebox. I think he's got a metal firebox. I take it back. It's a masonry firebox. He's got a screen in it. You can see that. I think the top left, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's out of your house, your storybook house, I think. Not 100% sure.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
But a nice, custom cut mantel, but it feels very old English, with those panels and points in it and so forth. But all limestone or marble, I'm not sure which. You recall?
I think it was limestone.
Limestone, yes. Nice little crown at the top, and the corners are chamfered. I don't know if you can see that or not, but these corners right here, the 45-degree chamfer on the outside of the corner, which just takes the hard edge off of that and gives it a little more detail. You guys detail all that stuff? No. And then this is a back hall detail, kind of a pantry thing, or a bench. And it's like a bench right there. I cropped the kids out and moved the picture. There's a little bench right there for the kids, a little storage. And then down this side, there was a bunch of lockers, and a couple lockers over here. Just a really nice back hall detail. And I can't tell you where it came from. It's a picture from a parade house. And then this is Andy's house again over here. There's his mantle. You can see there's the top of that cabinet. Flush doors, flat panel doors, nice art glass in them, bottle green And just some real nice stuff, nice details here. Simple cove, and then the brackets to break the cove, and the tiles, nice screen, I'm not sure you can the screen. And then back here, this is between the foyer, the entrance of the foyer, and the living room. This is the other end of the living room. You've got these 5-foot tall cabinets again, and tapered wood columns. Again, typical Craftsman details, very, very exquisite, very well done. Andy did not do this work himself, but yes, he and his brother-in-law is a builder, has been building for years, and used his subs, and a lot of people do this. So. The house, again, if he ever offers, you should go see the house. And this is the inside of that house that I had done for a builder's personal home, where we converted the 60s two-story. And the builder had a trim carpenter that did all this work for him, and he designed a lot of stuff himself. He tapered the newels. I had nothing to do with that, but I wanted to show it off anyway because he did a nice job. And the doors, and it's hard to see, but the lower door panels, or the big panel at the top, and the lower door panels all have a taper to the flat panel. So the center stile and the outside stiles get a little smaller at the bottom, so the panel gets a little wider. And it's very subtle, but it's just a nice custom touch. It drove up the cost of everything you do in the house. And you can see the vanity he had hand built also was really nice. Copper sink, and he did everything right. And then the new one going down the basement stairs that we opened up, and the fireplace, just some really nice stuff he put in. Some other random things. This one and this one are from that City Rama house that Mike did, and I don't know if Mike did all the interior detailing in this too or not.
The builder who did that house was actually kind of modeled off of a home we had done for his personal house.
Oh, I see.
So he was really into the Craftsman style.
Yeah. So again, you get the bottle green around this, and nice built-ins. Not unlike Andy's, when you see 5 foot and then the mantle slightly above that and the transoms up here, you can see again the hierarchy got carried through on this one the same way. And then over in the dining, you've got a nice hutch across there that's got some nice flat panel glass in it, and the transoms above. So dual post detail. Again, those are what appear to be 3/4 or 1x1 spindles, and they've worked this little wrought iron detail into it. Not too crazy. The wrought iron probably costs something to stained glass in it, but nice little, and it may be open. It probably is open. But it's a nice little detail to add, do something special every so often. And you can do that and have that square up and down. You don't have to put it the same height. You can do one here and one down here and one someplace else, and just have enough accent to make it very interesting and special. And then to the right is just a mud hall entry that I found in an ad and thought had some really nice details in it. You've got that gun stock back that comes over and drips down and back up on the back of the panel. Right here it comes over, drips down, and the panels have, that's that green and green detail that you see in a lot of the Gamble house. And then nice storage on both sides, nice detail on the front of this bench, shoe space underneath. I mean, even the hardwood has nice inlays and nice tile in the center. So just really well thought out. And even the ceiling is nice detail on it. And then these are some references that I think every library should have. Few Guide to American Houses, American House Styles, Theory of Moldings. If you're doing any interior detailing at all, you need to know what the hierarchy of moldings are. Some moldings are cones, some moldings are crowns, and one supports and the other one doesn't visually, and you need to know what to use where. And then Get Your House Right is Mary Ann Casado did that, and I've talked about it before. It's a great book that shows you how the detail is supposed to be done. And it's just a great illustrated book to be able to get that stuff. Mary Ann Casado did the Katrina cottages and is very talented. She's a graduate architect, not registered. but she does a lot of great presentation. And that's it. Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions I can answer or not answer? Try to help you as much as I can.
Can I hire you to do my detailing inside?
Certainly you can,
Okay,
but
all
I'm
right.
very expensive. If anybody's interested, I've got about 5 or 6 copies left of the Georgian program we did